If you crave the toxic chemistry of unbridled passion and psychological ruin, welcome back to Screen Curator. From sweltering neo-noir masterclasses to high-rise thrillers fueled by pure surveillance, here are 10 films where desire spirals into absolute terrifying danger. If you are seeking that exquisite heart-in-throat dread where a single mistake fractures a comfortable life, Adrian Lyne's classic thriller Fatal Attraction remains the undisputed gold standard. Michael Douglas plays Dan Gallagher, a successful Manhattan attorney who assumes a brief weekend liaison with book editor Alex Forrest will simply dissolve come Monday morning. But Alex, brought to life with ferocious intensity by Glenn Close, refuses to be treated as a quiet lapse in judgment. What begins as uncomfortable persistence rapidly darkens into a relentless psychological siege as her fixation breaches his pristine suburban sanctuary and threatens the safety of his family. What makes the film so wildly effective is how it weaponizes domestic comfort, turning a ringing landline in an empty hallway or an unexpected knock at the door into an instrument of absolute terror. Close delivers a career-defining performance that renders Alex equal parts tragically wounded and terrifyingly unhinged, keeping the tension coiled like a spring. For anyone drawn to stories where boundary-crossing desire unravels into total domestic paranoia, this masterclass in high-stakes tension is essential viewing that still holds a razor-sharp edge. Sliding into our number 9 spot is the 1993 suburban nightmare, The Crush. Cary Elwes stars as Nick Elliott, an ambitious investigative reporter who moves into a peaceful guest house behind a wealthy family's home to focus on a high-stakes assignment. His quiet sanctuary vanishes the moment he meets his landlord's 14-year-old daughter, Adrian, portrayed by a magnetic Alicia Silverstone in her breakout feature film debut. What starts as lingering glances and unannounced visits rapidly escalates into something far more dangerous once Nick firmly rejects her romantic advances. Silverstone gives a mesmerizingly cold performance, playing Adrian as a master strategist who realizes the terrifying leverage she holds. She knows that society will almost always believe the tearful claims of a teenage girl over the word of a frantic adult man. What follows is a campaign of psychological destruction as Adrian weaponizes fabricated scandals, destroys his professional relationships, and uses physical sabotage to corner him. It is a razor-sharp piece of 90s tension that turns suburban hospitality into an inescapable trap. If you love stories where a bruised ego turns into calculated warfare, this slick, unnerving thriller deserves a spot on your queue. Sitting at spot number 8, the 2009 psychological thriller Obsessed takes classic slick corporate ambition and injects it with pure high-voltage paranoia. Derek Charles, played by Idris Elba, is an executive who seemingly has everything locked down: a major promotion, a pristine suburban home, and a sharp, devoted wife, Sharon, played by Beyonce Knowles Carter. But the polished floorboards of his financial firm start to shift when a temporary worker named Lisa, portrayed with terrifying certainty by Ali Larter, steps into his office. What makes this setup so uniquely effective is its sharp twist on the classic stalker formula. Derek never strays. Lisa constructs a terrifying boundary-destroying phantom relationship entirely out of her own unrequited delusion, twisting a harmless exchange at a company holiday party into a green light for total life destruction. The tension steadily ratchets from quiet corporate harassment into an invasive nightmare that threatens Derek's career, marriage, and family. It all builds toward a fiercely satisfying, high-stakes physical showdown between Sharon and Lisa that holds legendary status among modern popcorn thrillers. If you are looking for a glossy, slickly paced ride where domestic bliss gets thrown directly into the pressure cooker, this is essential viewing. Coming in at number 7, we dive headfirst into the sleek, chlorinated anxiety of the 2002 thriller Swimfan. Ben Cronin has everything lined up: star status on his high school swim team, a college scholarship within arm's reach, and a devoted girlfriend. Then comes Madison Bell. One impulsive late-night encounter in the school pool feels like a secret mistake he can simply leave behind, but Madison does not do moving on. Erica Christensen delivers a genuinely chilling breakout performance, playing Madison with an unhinged, singular focus that turns Ben's world into a suffocating trap. What begins as uncomfortable boundary crossing quickly escalates into a calculated campaign of total sabotage. Steroid tests are doctored, evidence is planted, and Ben's pristine future is systematically dismantled while everyone around him assumes he is losing his mind. Director John Polson takes the classic stalker blueprint and drops it right onto a bright suburban high school campus, letting paranoia fester in broad daylight across bleachers and pool decks. If you love stories where a single lapse in judgment unleashes an unstoppable avalanche of psychological manipulation, Swimfan earns its place on your watch list. Sitting right at number 6 on our list is Lawrence Kasdan's steamy 1981 directorial debut, Body Heat, set against a suffocating Florida heat wave where characters sweat through their silk shirts and press ice cubes to their necks. Small-time lawyer Ned Racine finds himself utterly derailed by Maddie Walker, played with intoxicating, icy precision by Kathleen Turner in her legendary feature film debut. Maddie is a woman trapped in a marriage to a wealthy husband and bound by a prenup that leaves her pennies if she files for divorce. What begins as a humid late-night affair rapidly morphs into a treacherous conspiracy to commit the perfect murder. Kasdan, fresh off writing The Empire Strikes Back, crafted a story so intensely erotic that even George Lucas secretly helped finance it while keeping his own name off the project because he felt it was too dirty for his brand. Driven by John Barry's sultry, nocturnal jazz score, Body Heat captures the precise moment where overwhelming physical temptation eclipses basic human survival instincts. If you are chasing media where pure, unadulterated passion turns utterly toxic, this sweat-slick neo-noir triumph is an absolute must-watch tonight. At number 5, we step into the relentless 90s claustrophobia of Unlawful Entry. Michael and Karen Carr, played with grounded anxiety by Kurt Russell and Madeline Stowe, suffer a terrifying midnight break-in at their suburban Los Angeles home. Enter Officer Pete Davis, brought to chilling life by a menacingly intense Ray Liotta. At first, Pete feels like a godsend. He cuts through department red tape, offers a shoulder to lean on, and helps them wire their house with a high-end security system. But the real threat isn't the burglar who shattered their window. It is the man holding the badge. Pete develops a dangerous consuming fixation on Karen, weaponizing his institutional power to systematically destroy Michael's credibility and isolate her from everyone she trusts. What makes this thriller hit so hard is how effectively director Jonathan Kaplan exploits the illusion of domestic safety. The very officer sworn to protect your front door is the one using his authority to trap you inside. Ray Liotta delivers a masterclass in controlled volatility, morphing from an overly friendly civil servant into an unstoppable predatory force. If you love tense psychological thrillers where systemic power turns into unchecked obsession, Unlawful Entry is an absolute must-watch. At number 4 on our list, the 1996 thriller Fear takes the dizzying rush of first love and violently twists it into a nightmare. 16-year-old Nicole, played with raw vulnerability by Reese Witherspoon, falls hard for Mark Wahlberg's charismatic drifter David. At first, he feels like every adolescent dream, protective, smoldering, and endlessly attentive. But beneath that tender exterior lies a terrifyingly possessive predator who views love as total ownership. Director James Foley builds the tension with surgical precision, showing how sweet teenage infatuation turns suffocating. Look no further than the iconic roller coaster scene, where thrilling ecstasy subtly shifts into something sinister. While Nicole's father, played by William Peterson, senses the threat from day one, David systematically isolates her, turning a story of young romance into a brutal siege on her family's Seattle waterfront home. What makes Fear such an addictive watch is Wahlberg's unhinged, star-making performance, pivoting from disarming warmth to explosive violence in a single heartbeat. It captures the sheer terror of realizing the person holding your hand has turned your world into a dangerous trap. If you crave a high-octane thriller where passion curdles into dark obsession, this one absolutely earns a spot on your watch list. Claiming our number 3 spot is Philip Noyce's slick 1993 voyeuristic thriller Sliver. Fresh off her star-making turn in Basic Instinct, Sharon Stone plays Carly Norris, a book editor stepping into an ultra-narrow Manhattan high-rise on Madison Avenue, seeking a clean slate after a bitter divorce. But her fresh start instantly curdles into paranoia when she discovers the previous tenant, a woman who shared her exact physical likeness, mysteriously fell to her death from the balcony. Sliver weaponizes modern luxury architecture, turning a high-end tower into a gilded high-tech cage. Someone has wired every apartment with hidden lenses, broadcasting the tenant's most intimate, unscripted moments to a secret wall of video monitors. As Carly gets drawn into a volatile romance with her enigmatic landlord while managing the advances of a brooding true crime author down the hall, the boundary between desire and predatory surveillance completely dissolves. It stands as a lavish, deeply uneasy time capsule of 90s erotic tension and technological paranoia. If you love stories where architectural beauty hides a suffocating web of voyeuristic obsession, this one belongs right at the top of your queue. Reaching our runner-up spot, director Adam Egoyan's seductive thriller, Chloe takes a razor-sharp scalpel to marital paranoia. Julianne Moore plays Catherine, an affluent Toronto gynecologist who suspects her music professor husband, played by Liam Neeson, of wandering off. Instead of confronting him directly, she hatches a reckless behavioral experiment. She hires a breathtaking high-end escort named Chloe, played brilliantly by Amanda Seyfried, to test his fidelity in hotel lounges and report back. What makes this dynamic so dangerously addictive is where the real intimacy actually lies. Catherine isn't just looking for proof, she becomes utterly hooked on Chloe's vivid, step-by-step debriefs, inadvertently handing the key to her marriage over to a captivating stranger who begins playing her own game. Shot on lush 35mm film, the movie traps its cast inside sleek glass and wood modern architecture where every window reflects hidden desires and rising panic. Seyfried pivots effortlessly from vulnerable pawn to psychological mastermind, transforming a simple test of loyalty into a suffocating web of voyeurism and control. If you want a story that turns the dial of psychological tension all the way up, Chloe earns its place near the very top of your watch list. And claiming our ultimate top spot as the absolute peak pick of fatal obsession is the 1998 sun-drenched neo-noir Wild Things. Set against the sticky, oppressive heat of the Florida Everglades, this film takes the friction of raw desire and turns it into an intricate, treacherous trap. The story kicks off when a charismatic high school guidance counselor finds his life shredded overnight after a wealthy teen socialite and a troubled swampside outcast level devastating, matching accusations against him. But when a suspicious detective begins pulling at the threads, the case rapidly devolves into a labyrinth of perjury, greed, and shifting motives where nobody is innocent. What makes Wild Things the undisputed crown jewel of this list is its sheer narrative audacity. It wears the gloss of a sensational 90s pulp thriller, but underneath its sweat-slicked surface lies a script engineered like a razor-sharp trap, constantly pulling the rug out just when you think you have cracked the code. It is wicked, stylish, and wildly entertaining from start to finish. If you want a film where physical temptation metastasizes into absolute legal and psychological chaos, there is no better watch. Because once obsession completely shatters reality, the next logical step is losing your mind entirely. If you loved those dark, manipulative games, you'll find even more mind-twisting tension in our deep dive into 20 psychological thriller movies that completely break your brain. Smash subscribe and click the video on screen right now.